Hi, I'm Jean Whitney, and I teach at UNLV's law school. And I started teaching there in 1999, which was the second year the law school was alive. I've taught legal writing for all of the years until this very year, and now I am the interim externship director. The course I'm here to talk about today is a course I developed called Advanced Advocacy Legislative Policy. It's one of several courses that we offer for our students for their third required semester of legal writing. And what we've tried to do in developing the courses is have there be various contexts for the advanced courses. So there are some that deal with litigation, some that deal with appellate advocacy, some that deal with transactional skills, and this one deals with legislative advocacy. Well, from traditional writing courses, it's different because many schools don't have a third required semester. So normally for legal writing programs, you have a two-semester program where you learn objective writing and persuasive writing. And what we decided to do is add this third required semester so that students get a chance to experience some other kinds of writing that they would have to do in practice. And they're required to take one course, but they can take more than one if they want to. So what I've done in all the courses that I teach that are the third semester is set them up kind of like a simulation. So that's what this is, and the students have a simulated experience of working with a law firm or a public affairs firm that would do lobbying, and they have to learn how to write and make presentations in the way that a lobbyist might. The way that I teach the course in this sort of simulation model is to make sure that students are, first of all, seeing how what they learned in the legislation or statutory interpretation course, which is a prerequisite, how that really happens in real life. And what better way to do that than to be at the legislature watching what happens every day in session, in committee hearings, in legislators' offices, in all the different contexts. And then in class, what we do is talk about how what they see comports with what they learned in that substantive doctrinal course. So that's one of the ways that we address the Carnegie model. And then in terms of the skills apprenticeship, obviously the skill set that you have to have when you're a lobbyist or a lawyer who works in the legislature is different from the skill set you might need if you're doing litigation. So we talk about what skills are different that they're learning here. And in the beginning of the course, I have them do a self-assessment so that they can identify the skills that they're going to be learning, and then they can sort of map their own progress. And as far as the apprenticeship for professional identity and purpose, I spend a lot of time getting people who I've met. We have several alums actually who are in the legislature now. And so I have people who play various roles in the legislative process come to class and talk about what are the professional responsibility implications of being a lobbyist as opposed to litigators. And there are people who work for our Legislative Counsel Bureau who are the nonpartisan law firm basically for the legislature itself, and what's their role and what issues do they face. So I think it gives students a really good look at all the different roles that there are, and it helps them to focus their learning in those three different apprenticeship areas. Okay. I think that it's really important for students to be able to write when they get out of law school, and to write in a variety of contexts. So if they learn the basics of objective and persuasive writing, that's good, but it might not be as good if they, I think it's better, I should say, that if they have skills that help them to write effectively in other contexts. So many law schools, you don't have a chance to do drafting a complaint or that kind of a skill. And I don't know how many schools have courses that teach you to draft legislation, but that's an important skill because many times you can help your clients by having some legislative initiative instead of suing someone to change what they need. So I think it's important for students to be able to write well in lots of contexts. Well, I think the students get a great deal from this kind of immersion experience because they, I think learning is deeper if you see it, if you see what you're learning actually happening. So as they are working with in whatever role they are in an externship at the legislature, and then they come to class, they might be doing their externship with the Nonpartisan Legislative Council Bureau, so they are learning their drafting skills there, but they also need to know about how do lobbyists work and what do the legislators do in response to lobbyists coming to them. And so they have all kinds of ways they get a better rounded experience, I think. And actually, just yesterday we had a panel at the law school of people who were involved in government affairs and lobbying, and one of our alums who took the class and did an externship then decided to run for office, and she was elected as an assemblywoman. So she was there to talk about it. So what greater, kind of promotion could you have? The course has evolved over the several times that I've taught it now, and at first I was trying to control too much, and I had a great plan, a syllabus with things that we were going to do every week, but what I realized is that part of the value is to have the students talk about what they're seeing and process that together. So it also has changed in that it's become more popular. So the first time I taught it, there were only 3 students in the class. And as our externship program expanded, then we got more and higher enrollment. And so what I've seen is the students now seeing these various roles, because in the beginning they were only working in one context, and now I've got students who are working in all aspects of the legislative process. So that's one way that it's changed, and I think for the better. I think it's more than war stories or more than just observation and processing, because I give them assignments and I have them talk. Basically what the students do is, separate from whatever they're doing in their externship, they have to pick a legislative issue that they're interested in and draft a bill and develop a policy memo, write a policy memo that they would give to legislators when they are, if they were presenting it to a committee or giving to anyone who they were trying to get to vote for their proposal. And then they have I have a mock legislative committee that I get volunteers from the legislature to come and sit and act like a real committee, and my students then have to make a presentation. So they develop talking points and a PowerPoint presentation usually, and have to field questions from the legislators. And because they're real issues, they get tested and they have to be put on the spot and be able to defend their proposals and have the research to back up why they're making the proposal they are. So it's more than just the reflection, it's the reflection plus. I think legal education has to make students more practice ready by throwing them into the pool and being on the sidelines. So that's why I like the idea of simulation courses or real live clinic experiences, service learning courses where they're working with real people. All of those kinds of experiences give them the chance to test out what they're learning while they're still learning, and then looking at that and saying, how could I improve? So not only are you helping them learn the skills and even the substantive knowledge more, because you're grounding it with this observation or experience, but you're also helping them to learn how to keep doing that as they move into practice. So you do something the first time and you sit back and say, wow, that didn't work. I wonder how I could do it better. And hopefully they'll just continue that process that they learned through these experiential courses. I think teaching skills and professional identity really is not so much teaching it, but guiding them as they explore for themselves. So it's more about becoming reflective and always stepping back and looking at the sort of how they did something and evaluating themselves as they do things in life. And so I think you teach it by modeling it, and you teach it by giving them sort of guided opportunities to do that kind of reflection. And I also try to build that into this particular course, having other professionals come in and talk with them about how they made it through, how they developed the skills that they have, how long it takes. Because nobody thinks that we can have students practice ready to be like experts. It takes a long time to become an expert. But the way you do it is by that constant recycling and stepping back and seeing what you could do better and constantly improving.